Okay guys, today we are going to fix my rim. Last time I had a little incident with a curb and some bad judgment. If you didn't see that, then you know what to do. Click the link that's appearing up here as I speak. Now, I have never done this before, so I'm not claiming any expertise on how to do this, and I'm not saying that you should do it yourself. If you feel uncomfortable, just take it to a shop. But here I go. First, we need to clean off the bike. While I'm cleaning off my bike, a quick note. I have never done this before, but I did acquire some very helpful experience along the way. So hopefully in this video, I will give you a superfluous amount of tips that will save you from doing extra work and messing up your new rim. Now, the first step should be obvious. Take off the tire. Assess the damage to your old rim. Then, take a moment to glory over your fresh, new, crisp rim. It may not be carbon, but it is still a beautiful piece of metal. When you are done drooling over your new rim, here are the tools you will need. Obviously, your wheel, the new rim, and a truing stand if you have it. A chain whip and cassette tool to remove your gears, spoke wrenches, a torque wrench, a T25 to remove your disc, masking tape, something to hold bolts, a pick, and a new rim strip. The first step is to remove your cassette. To do this, use the chain whip to hold the cassette still as you loosen the lock ring. If you are replacing the rim on your front wheel, simply skip this step. Next, remove your disc. I used this magnetic tray to store the bolts so I wouldn't lose them. Do not touch the braking surface of your disc or it will get contaminated. Now take your other rim and tape them together, aligning the valve stem holes as you do so. Now for my first tip. It may seem obvious, but lay out pieces of tape before you align your rims. It will make your life a lot easier.
I need to get the rim strip off.
My second tip is remove the rim strip before you start taping things together. The easiest way to do this, in my opinion, is with a pick.
Have to wrestle with wheels before you do it.
Another thing to make sure of is that you tape it to the cassette side of the hub. Imagine you have a hub, then put a rim on with equal length spokes. Because of the driver for the hub, your rim will not be centered. So if you center it, the non-drive side spoke will not reach. So you lengthen it, causing one spoke to be shorter. So if you move the longer side first, you will cause unnecessary tension when you go to move the short side. This is why we tape the new rim to the cassette side of the hub. Now my truing stand is older and is not made to accommodate through axles, but you can still use an old quick release axle. Just line up the nut on the other side and clamp it down hard.
Okay.
Now you need to go around and loosen all the spokes. The trick here for me was learning which was tighter and which was looser. Looking down, clockwise is looser and counterclockwise is tighter. Remember that. Next, go around and loosen every single one a half or full turn at a time. The reason you can't do just one nipple at a time is because otherwise the rim would get all wonky and you risk messing up the spokes.
Where did I
So
start?
loosen them incrementally all the way around.
I start right there. I'm going to mark the nipple.
My third tip is either start close to the valve stem hole or use tape to mark the spoke you started on. So, which spoke did I leave off on? The goal is to get them to where you can almost turn them with your fingers. So when they are all relatively loose, go around one more time and prepare for the next step. Before I explain the next step, let me give you a tip. Do not drop the nipple inside the rim. because the only way to get it out is to shake the rim for 5 minutes. So, here's what you need to do. Unscrew the nipple with a flathead screwdriver. Get it out of the rim. Reinsert it into the other rim. Move the spoke over, then screw it back on. Now, here's how I got it done. First, I used an electric screwdriver to spin the nipple out. Then I poked it through the hole at the bottom of the rim.
Oh, shoot. Yes, come on. There we go.
Next, I flexed the spoke and moved it over to the corresponding hole on the other rim. After that, I used a pick to insert it into the other rim and into the spoke on the other side. This part can be a bit tricky, and if you drop the nipple, it will be lost for at least 5 minutes before you can get it out of the rim. Then I just spun it on with the screwdriver. Be sure not to over tighten it. Leave about 75% of the threads still visible on the other side. Now, spokes come in overlapping pairs. There is a spoke on the outside and on the inside. You always want to move the outside spoke first because if you don't, you will put unnecessary strain on the inside spoke. So you can either move an outside, then the corresponding inside, or all the outsides, then all the insides. Your choice. Now, just repeat this process on the whole wheel. I fell into a rhythm and only lost one more nipple inside the rim. This is, in my opinion, the best part, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Once you have moved all the spokes over, remove the old rim. Now you need all the spokes to be at an equal tension. So put your finger on the end of the threads and go through and spin all the nipples up, stopping when they hit your finger. This is where having the electric screwdriver really makes things a whole lot faster. Now you know they are all tightened evenly, so you need to get them up to tension. So you go a half turn on each one, but exactly a half turn. Periodically you want to go through and squeeze the spokes, making sure they are all seated. This also tells you what spoke tension is like. While you are going through and tightening them evenly, you may notice that some are very much looser than others. This is okay. Just turn it a half turn like all the others, and it will eventually tighten up as the other spokes tighten. After you have completed one full rotation, go around and check spoke tension. If they are still super loose, then do it again. Repeat this process until the spokes are as tight as they were before, or as tight as they are on the other wheel. This will usually take a good many rounds of half turns. It took me about 5. Now, some may say I can't safely do this because I don't have a spoke tension meter. It basically checks to make sure all your spokes are tight. And yes, I know, if you are building up a new wheel, this is a necessary tool. But what with comparing it to other wheels, and from what I felt before, I think I will be alright. Once they are all tight, it's time to true your wheel. This is done by using the guide on the truing stand to see where the wheel deviates from straight. When you find that spot, you go and tighten the surrounding spokes on the other side of the hub. This pulls the rim slightly in the other direction, causing it to straighten up. When you see no more deviation from the little guide, you are done. However, you are truing in 3 dimensions, so in addition to making sure the wheel is straight up and down, you also have to make sure it is a true circle. This is done by watching the bottom of the wheel, and when you see a hop, tightening the spokes above it on both sides of the hub so that it pulls the hop in. Now, there is one aspect of truing that we did not look at, making sure your rim is in the center of your hub body. Some truing stands have a tool for this, but mine doesn't. Luckily, I can just flip the wheel around and check. and it looks like it's not. It's off by 1/8 of an inch. So if I were to move it to the center, then I would move it over 1/16 of an inch. That means loosening one side, tightening another, then re-truing it. But for this project, I'm not going to do this. The reason you want the rim in the middle is so your tire doesn't hit your chain stays or seat stays. On a time trial bike where clearance is minimal, this might be a problem. But I have a mountain bike. It will be fine. Now, all that's left is to reinstall your cassette, then torque your disc bolts into place. Be sure not to touch the braking surface of your disc, and then install your new rim strip. The trick I found here is to keep tension with both your hands on the strip while you pull it into place. After that, I use the pick once more to undo the folds. Be sure you line up the hole in the rim strip with the valve stem hole in the rim before you pull it tight. Otherwise, you will have to take the entire strip off and start over. Finally, after some fooling with the tire, filling it with Stan's no tube sealant, then using our pump with an extra air chamber to inflate the tire, I found my tire had a hole. Luckily, it was a small one, and the sealant took care of it.
No, but the stands will plug it.
And with that, we are finally ready to ride. When you first start riding, you may notice your wheel pops a little. Don't be alarmed, this is normal, as the spokes will move around to get seated. Remember to like and subscribe. Now get out there and find your flow.
I just have to come back and get some revenge on this dang curve. I don't have the kicker ramp, I broke it. It's not the same angle. I don't have anybody helping me film. We're gonna crush this.